Now, effect of dilution on molar conductivity, equivalent conductivity, specific conductance and conductance. Here, for an electrolyte, the conductance will depend upon the number of particles present in it. On dilution, that means the number of electrolyte particles, that may be positive ions or negative ions, without changing their number, if you increase the volume, the concentration will decreases. The concentration of positive and negative ions of an electrolyte decreases with increase of dilution. Now, the conductance or the specific conductance, both, they depend upon the number of charged species present in a given volume. When the number of charged species in a given volume is decreasing, automatically conductance and specific conductance both will decrease on dilution of an electrolyte. But in the case of molar conductance and equivalent conductance, it is different. And even in molar conductance, equivalent conductance also, there will be a lot of difference between strong electrolytes and weak electrolytes. In strong electrolytes, already they are in a completely ionized state, even in lesser concentrations also, their degree of ionization is very high. So, more number of particles are available in a strong electrolytes. Naturally, the molar conductance and equivalent conductance of strong electrolytes is far higher than a weak electrolyte and weak electrolytes, whether it may be acids or bases or very dilute salt solutions. So, there on dilution, the effects of the molar conductivity and equivalent conductivity will vary in case of strong electrolytes and weak electrolytes. In both the cases, just let us take an example of two strong electrolytes, HCl and NaCl, and two weak electrolytes, one acetic acid and other one is a base. Now, here strong electrolytes, one is strong acid and other one is a salt, whereas weak acid and a weak base. If we take the conductance, molar conductivity of these electrolytes at different concentrations, this is at 0.1 mole concentration, on dilution its concentration was decreased to 0.05, again on further dilution it was further decreased to 0.02, and further dilution it decreases to 0.01. So, gradually on dilution the concentration is decreasing, and these are the molar conductivities of HCl at these concentrations in Siemens centimeters per mole. Here at 0.1 concentration, the molar conductivity of HCl is 391.32, at 0.05 concentration 399.09, and at 0.02 it is 407, and at 0.01 it is 412. Of course, there is a gradual increase of molar conductivity by dilution. Here also there is a increase in the molar conductivity from 106, 111, 115, 118. So, there is a gradual increase of molar conductivity with dilution. But if you observe this increase with weak electrolytes, significantly very high increase observed here. See here 5.2 at 0.1 concentration, 16.2 at 0.01 concentration. That means nearly 4 times increase here we are observing. Whereas here it is not less than 1 time, just 0.8 to 9 times increase we are observing, whereas here 4 times increase in the molar conductivity by dilution from 0.1 to 0.01, whereas in the case of NH4OH nearly 16 times increase was observed when dilution takes place from 0.1 to 0.01. That means all electrolytes, whether it is a strong or weak, their molar conductivity and equivalent conductivities also in the same line. So, both molar conductivities and equivalent conductivities increases with dilution, but the increase is significantly high in weak electrolytes, whereas it is very small in strong electrolytes. This difference can easily be understood while we plot these results in a graph. The significant difference we observe if we plot these results in a graph. Let us verify it. If we plot a graph between root C, square root of its concentration, and molar conductivity in y axis, then we get this type of graph for KCl and this graph for CH3COOH. These two graphs indicate that when concentration is increasing, that is dilution is decreasing, molar conductivity will gradually increases. This KCl, if we go on diluting, its molar conductivity will increasing. If you extend this, it will reach and touch this y axis here. This means it reaches to an infinite point. This is said to be molar conductivity at infinite dilution. That means a specific value is arise. This we call it as a limiting molar conductivity. That means the maximum conductance that can exhibited at a particular concentration can be derived for strong electrolytes. But in the case of weak electrolytes, the limiting molar conductivity is not possible to derive. For example, if you observe this curve, it is almost parallel to y axis. That means it is not intersect y axis at any cost. So, the limiting conductance of weak electrolyte cannot be determined in a direct manner, but in indirect way we can calculate the limiting molar conductivities of weak electrolytes. For that purpose, Kohlraasch proposed a new law to define the limiting molar conductivities of weak electrolytes, which limiting conductance cannot be determined by these graphical methods. In an indirect way, we can determine the limiting molar conductivity of a weak electrolyte, not in a direct way, because the molar conductivity of CH3COOH is equal to the molar conductivities of CH3COO minus ions plus molar conductivity of H plus ions. Similarly, the limiting molar conductivity of KCl is molar conductivity, limiting molar conductivity of K plus ions and limiting molar conductivity of Cl minus ions. For strong electrolytes, these values can be derived graphically, but in the case of weak electrolytes, these values cannot be derived directly. In indirect manner only we have to calculate. For that purpose, we have Kohlraasch law. Kohlraasch law. Kohlraasch proposed that any electrolyte at its infinite dilution, each ion contributes a specific amount of molar conductivity, irrespective of the other ion which it is associated. At infinite dilution, each electrolyte, the constituent ions, positive and negative ions, each ion will contribute a specific amount of molar conductivity. So, the total molar conductivity of an electrolyte is equal to sum of the molar conductivities of the constituent ions present in it. For example, if an electrolyte AB is completely ionized to give A plus and B minus at infinite dilution, positive ions will contribute some molar conductivity and negative ions will contribute some molar conductivity. If molar conductivity that exhibited by the cations at infinite dilution is lambda 0 plus, and for negative ions it is lambda 0 minus, then molar conductivity cap m is equal to V plus into lambda plus V minus into lambda minus. Here V plus and V minus are the number of constituent ions present according to the formula of the electrolyte, and lambda plus naught and lambda minus naught are the molar conductivities of cation and anion at infinite dilution. So, the molar conductivity of that electrolyte will be equal to the sum of this. For example, in NaCl sodium chloride, its formula contains 1 Na plus and 1 Cl minus. Therefore, number of V plus and V minus are 1 and 1. So, the molar conductivity of NaCl will be at infinite dilution Na plus Cl minus. For Na2SO4, 2 Na plus ions are there. So, 2 into lambda Na plus at infinite dilution plus lambda SO4 minus 2 at infinite dilution. If it is BaCl2, 1 cation and 2 anions are there. So, in such case it is 2 lambda naught at Ba plus 2 plus 2 into Cl minus naught. So, by that way you can get the molar conductivity. The molar conductivity is nothing but sum of the conductivities of total ions present at an infinite dilution. In case of weak electrolytes, we are unable to get this molar conductivity at infinite dilution. In an alternative way, we are going to calculate the molar conductivity by using the Kohlrausch law. For example, if you take CH3COOH, CH3COOH. So, its constituent ions are CH3COO minus and H plus ions. Now, the molar conductivity of CH3COOH is molar conductivity of acetate ions at infinite dilution plus molar conductivity of H plus ions at infinite dilution. But these values cannot be derived directly because CH3COOH is no more completely ionizable at infinite dilution. In the graphical method itself, we say that the limiting molar conductivity of weak electrolyte is not possible to determine, but in indirect way we can determine, which are having common ions, that is acetate ion and H plus ion. The salts are strong electrolytes which contain these common ions. With the help of those molar conductivities, we can calculate the molar conductivity of this. For example, we have a salt like CH3COOH. CH3COONA. It is a salt. Since it is a strong electrolyte, it is completely ionizable and it is a strong electrolyte. So we can determine the limiting molar conductivity of sodium acetate. By that way you can calculate CH3COO minus plus Na plus. So you are able to calculate the limiting molar conductivity of acetate ion and Na plus ion. You cannot conduct limiting molar conductivities of acetate ion and H plus ion from CH3COOH. But this acetate ions limiting molar conductivity can be calculated from sodium acetate. Similarly, the H plus ions limiting molar conductivity can be calculated from HCl. So limiting molar conductivity of HCl is limiting molar conductivity of H plus and limiting molar conductivity of Cl minus. So from HCl we can calculate the limiting molar conductivity of H plus. H plus ions limiting molar conductivity cannot be determined from acetic acid, but it can be determined from HCl. Acetate ions limiting molar conductivity cannot be determined from acetic acid, but it can be determined from sodium acetate because these two are strong electrolyte. Let us take another electrolyte which is NaCl. Limiting molar conductivity of NaCl can be determined because this is also strong electrolyte. It will be equal to Na plus plus Cl minus. Now, from this data, you can get this data. How it is possible? If you add these two and subtract this one, you will get, by subtracting means minus and this is minus. Now, if you add it, if you add these three, plus Na minus Na is cancelled, plus Cl minus lambda Cl is cancelled. Now the remaining part is limiting molar conductivity of CH3COO minus plus limiting molar conductivity of H plus. This value will gives us the limiting molar conductivity of acetic acid. Experimentally, it is not possible to determine the limiting molar conductivity of acetic acid, but we can determine the limiting molar conductivities of strong electrolytes CH3COONA, HCl and NaCl. These values can be determined experimentally because they are strong electrolytes. From these values, you can derive indirectly the sum of the limiting molar conductivities of acetate ion and H plus ion. If you know the sum of the limiting molar conductivities of H plus and Cl minus, it will be equal to limiting molar conductivity of acetic acid. This is the application of Kohlrausch law, because the limiting molar conductivity of an electrolyte is nothing but the sum of the limiting molar conductivity of the constituent particles are present in that electrolyte. As weak electrolytes, limiting molar conductivities is not possible to determine experimentally. In an indirect way, by the results of strong electrolytes, we can calculate the sum of the constituent particles of weak electrolyte limiting molar conductivities, and it will equal to the limiting molar conductivity of acetic acid. So, if limiting molar conductivities of sodium acetate and HCl is added, from that sum if you subtract NaCl, you will get the sum of the limiting molar conductivities of acetate ion and H plus ion. So, with the help of Kohlrausch law, we are able to calculate the limiting molar conductivity of a weak electrolyte in an indirect manner, because it is not possible to practically determine the limiting molar conductivity of a weak electrolyte, because for strong electrolytes we can calculate the limiting molar conductivity. Now, another important application of Kohlrausch law is to find out the degree of dissociation. Degree of dissociation means the percentage of dissociation of a weak electrolyte. We know that weak electrolyte are slightly ionizes, but on dilution their ionization increases. So, in normal concentrations, as their degree of dissociation is less, their molar conductivity will also be less. When we are diluting the solution, the degree of dissociation increases. As the degree of dissociation increases, number of ions present in an electrolyte is also increases, and its molar conductivity will also increases. So, on dilution, the molar conductivity of a weak electrolyte increases. According to Ostwald's law of dilution, at infinite dilution, the concentration of an electrolyte is equal to 0, and its degree of dissociation is unit, equal to 1. In such cases, the molar conductivity is almost reaches to its limiting value, or we can consider that as a molar conductivity of that electrolyte. So, at infinite dilution, the conductivity of weak electrolyte reaches to its limiting value. So, that can be considered as limiting conductivity of weak electrolyte. So, if the conductivity of a weak electrolyte at concentration C is cap m, molar conductivity at a given concentration, and its limiting conductance at infinite dilution is cap naught m. So, the ratio between these two is said to equal to alpha, or degree of dissociation. So, the degree of dissociation of a weak electrolyte is equal to the ratio between the molar conductance of a weak electrolyte at given concentration and its limiting concentration at infinite dilution, that is equal to degree of dissociation. With the help of this degree of dissociation, you can calculate the equilibrium constant of a weak electrolyte, and you can also calculate the solubility of a sparingly soluble salts. These are the other important uses of Kohlrausch law. Now, let us consider the equilibrium constant of a weak electrolyte. Now let us consider a weak electrolyte CH3COOH. Its initial concentration is C. It ionizes as CH3COO minus and H plus. So initial stage, when acid is not ionized, the concentration of acid is C and concentration of state ions are 0 and concentration of H plus ions are 0. But during ionization, let alpha is the degree of dissociation of acetic acid and number of ions that dissociated are C alpha and they form C alpha anions and C alpha cation. Now at equilibrium state, the concentrations of these three can be considered as, because initially C alpha is ionized, so at equilibrium state the concentration of acetic acid is C minus C alpha, and this is C alpha and this is C alpha. Now equilibrium constant K is equal to product of the molar concentrations of product by product of the molar concentrations of the reactant. So it can be written as C square alpha square by C minus C alpha. Now if you take common, this can be written also as C into C alpha square by C into 1 minus alpha. C cancel. So it can be C alpha square minus 1 by alpha. This is equilibrium constant. Equilibrium weak electrolyte. So now let us substitute alpha values here. K is equal to C alpha square by 1 minus alpha. Now just now we derived that alpha is equal to molar conductivity of electrolyte at concentration C by limiting molar conductivity. Alpha is cap Cm by cap naught m. Now if you substitute alpha value in this expression, you will get K is equal to C into alpha Cm by naught m whole square by 1 minus alpha Cm by alpha. Now if you take LCM, this will be written as alpha Cm by alpha naught m whole square by alpha naught m minus alpha Cm by alpha naught m. Now if you expand it, you will get C into C square m by alpha naught m whole square, because it is lambda Cm by lambda naught m whole square. So you can write as lambda C square m by lambda naught square m into, if you reverse it, by naught m minus Cm. So, here limiting molar conductivity square, here we have limiting molar conductivity, the square can be cancelled. Now, finally, you will have C into alpha Cm square by m. Here you can take so this is equilibrium constant. So, if you know the molar conductivity of a weak electrolyte at given concentration and its limiting molar conductivities, if you are able to calculate with by using the Kohlrausch law, you can calculate the equilibrium constant for a weak electrolyte at given conditions. This is one more important application of Kohlrausch law. Now, another important use of this Kohlrausch law is finding the solubility of a sparingly soluble salts. Those precipitates we obtain in the qualitative analysis. For example, when AgCl is when silver nitrate solution is added to a solution containing chloride ions, you will get AgCl precipitate. Similarly, we will get lead sulphate precipitate. Similarly, we will get barium sulphate precipitate. When barium chloride is added to the solution that contains sulphate ions, you will get barium sulphate precipitate. Likewise, we get so many precipitates, barium carbonate, etc. All those precipitates which we are getting in their aqueous solutions, that means their solubility is very less. Such salts are said to be sparingly soluble salts. That means they are soluble in water in very less extent. But whatever the extent it may be, to certain extent they are soluble. When you go on increasing or diluting it, their solubility will also increases. So, at infinite dilution, they will show the maximum solubility. Now, at that state, their concentration can be considered as its solubility, because in such case it is said to be a saturated solution. So, concentration of that solution can be considered as the solubility of that salt. By measuring the conductivity and molar conductivity, we can easily calculate the solubility, because the specific conductance molar conductivity will be K into 1000 by molarity, because K is kappa, it is said to be a specific conductance. Specific conductance into 1000 by molarity is nothing but its molar conductivity. Now, as molarity is equal to solubility, this formula can also be written as K into 1000 by solubility. Therefore, solubility is equal to K into 1000 by limiting molar conductivity. By this way, if you know the limiting molar conductivity and if you are able to calculate the limiting molar conductivity of a sparingly soluble salt using Kohlrausch law, you can easily calculate the solubility of that sparingly soluble salt if we can know the specific conductance of that salt. So, this is another important use of Kohlrausch law. So, Kohlrausch law is used for us to determine so many things which are not possible to practically determine it directly, but in indirect manner using the Kohlrausch law we can calculate all these things, that is limiting molar conductivity of a weak electrolyte, the degree of dissociation of a weak electrolyte, and solubility of a sparingly soluble salt can be determined with the help of this Kohlrausch law.